My grandpa Leo used to tell me a story about when he got his first credit card. It felt like a magic trick to him. He could buy something and not have to hand over a single bill. He used to laugh, but you could tell he was just a little bit suspicious of it all. Payments, he'd say, are supposed to be in cash. Real, cold, hard cash. And I get it. A lot of us feel that same way about what's happening in crypto. We see these massive prices, these huge market caps, but we still question the why. What makes this digital money valuable? What is it actually for? Can it ever be a replacement for the cash my grandpa Leo held so dear? Well, the answer is a resounding yes, and a piece of news just dropped that proves it beyond a shadow of a doubt. This isn't about another price pump. This is about a state government officially choosing Hedera for its core infrastructure. This isn't another abstract concept. It's a real, tangible use case that puts HBAR front and center in a way that no other crypto can claim. If you're interested in this topic, hit the like button, subscribe, and type interested in the comments, and I will give you a heart. In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal how a seemingly small update from a state you might not even think about proves that your HBAR price prediction is too low. I'm going to connect the dots in a way that will make you feel like you have this secret playbook, revealing why Hedera has a fundamental advantage that no other project possesses. We're going to dive into the controversy, the hidden catalysts, and the shocking new developments that prove HBAR is about to become the backbone of an entirely new financial system. Stick with me, because what I'm about to show you will change the way you look at this entire space forever. Let's start with a foundational truth. As crypto enthusiasts, we often get caught up in the speculative side of the market, the pumps, the dumps, the all-time highs. But if we were to take a step back and think about the most obvious fundamental problem that crypto is trying to solve, it would have to be payments. In a world where money moves across borders in seconds, we're still using a system that can take days to settle. We're paying exorbitant fees just to send a few dollars. My grandpa Leo might have been skeptical of a credit card, but even he would have been furious if a simple transaction took a week to process and cost him $1 just to move 10. This is the problem that utility chains like Hedera were built to solve. And that's why this next piece of news is so monumental. It's not about a celebrity endorsement or a viral tweet. It's about a state government, the state of Wyoming, taking the lead and building a real digital solution to a real world problem. Wyoming has introduced something called the Wyoming Stable Token, or FRONT. What is this exactly? It's a stable coin that is redeemable for $1, and here's the key part. It is held in trust by the state of Wyoming itself. It's a state-backed, state-regulated digital currency. Now you might be asking yourself, why do we need this? We already have USDC and USDT, and that's a valid question. The answer lies in the level of trust and regulatory oversight that a state-backed stablecoin provides. It's not just a private company's promise, it's a government's guarantee. This is a game changer because it bridges the gap between the decentralized world of crypto and the regulated world of traditional finance. It's the kind of bridge my grandpa Leo could walk across. He might not have trusted a random coin from the internet, but he would have trusted a coin guaranteed by a state government. It's a fundamental shift in how trust is established in the digital economy. It's about taking the benefits of decentralization and wrapping them in the security and compliance of a government body. It's the perfect blend of the new and old, creating a hybrid system that satisfies both sides of the financial spectrum. This is a massive leap forward for the entire industry. This isn't a theoretical project. It's a living, breathing proof of concept that will pave the way for other states and even countries to follow suit. It's a signal to the world that governments are ready to embrace this technology, but only on the right networks, the networks that can meet their stringent criteria. And guess which network was chosen as the only additional candidate for this monumental project? That's right, Hedera. This news story is huge because it's about so much more than a simple partnership. It's about validation. It's about a government body with an entire commission dedicated to evaluating this technology, looking at the entire landscape and saying, we choose you. They didn't choose just any project, they chose Hedera. But why? What did they see that others are missing? The reason is in the details, in the stringent criteria they used to make this decision. Criteria that many of the other so-called top blockchains simply cannot meet. This is the part of the story that will give you a level of confidence in your HBAR investment that nothing else can. We're going to get to the surprising reasons why Hedera was selected over its competitors, and some of the answers will leave you shaking your head. The next segment will reveal the shocking exclusions and controversial inclusions that make this news even more compelling. The Wyoming stablecoin was deployed on 7 different blockchains, but they chose to add only one more. And the reasons they chose HBAR will make you question the entire crypto market. We're talking about a selection process that exposes the biggest flaws in some of your favorite projects. And this is where the story gets really interesting. The Wyoming Stable Token Commission didn't just pick blockchains at random. They had a specific set of criteria that each network had to meet to be a candidate for its frontier stablecoin. The 3 most important criteria were speed, reliability, and regulatory alignment. These aren't just buzzwords, they are the bedrock of any financial system. A stablecoin is useless if it takes minutes to transact, if the network is constantly offline, or if it can't operate within legal frameworks. And this is where Hedera absolutely shines. The Wyoming Commission gave Hedera a high score of 25. Now, we don't know what the total possible points were, but the fact that Hedera was the only additional candidate to even make the cut is the most important part of this story. Why? Because the Frontier stablecoin was already deployed on 7 other blockchains: Arbitrum, Avalanche, Base, Ethereum, Optimism, Polygon, and Solana. And this is where the controversy begins. I have to admit, when I first saw this list, I was completely perplexed. I mean, let's be real. When you look at that list, you see some names that just don't fit the criteria. Take Solana, for example. They call it reliability, but how many times has the Solana network been down in the last few years? I mean, come on. While it's gotten better lately, its history is plagued with downtime and network congestion. How can a state government, which needs a 24/7 always-on platform for a critical financial tool, choose a network with a history of outages? It just doesn't make sense on the surface. And what about Ethereum? One of the core criteria was predictable costs, but as anyone who has ever tried to transact on Ethereum knows, that's a joke. You can go from paying a few cents to tens or even hundreds of dollars in gas fees in a matter of minutes. How can you build a stable, state-backed payment system on a network with completely unpredictable and often exorbitant fees? It's simply not possible. This isn't just a minor detail, it's a fundamental flaw that should have excluded Ethereum from the start. This leads us to a very uncomfortable question, a question that a lot of people in this space are too afraid to ask out loud. Was there a little pay-to-play going on here? Were some of these networks included for reasons that have nothing to do with their actual technology? I'm not saying it's a fact, but it's hard not to be skeptical when the criteria they claim to use doesn't match the networks they've chosen. It's like saying you want to hire the fastest runner, but then you hire a guy with a limp who's willing to pay you. This is why the Hedera selection is so significant. It wasn't about a popularity contest or a backroom deal. It was about raw performance. It was about a network that truly meets the criteria of speed, reliability, and regulatory alignment. And while they included some of these other networks, they chose to add Hedera because it brings something to the table that none of the others can truly claim to have. The next segment will reveal what that secret sauce is, what Hedera has that sets it apart from all of these other networks, and why it was the deciding factor for a state bank stablecoin. Get ready, because this is the most important learning outcome from this entire news story. What if I told you that the key to building a global payment system isn't speed or even low fees? It's something else entirely, something that only Hedera can guarantee. It's the one thing that separates it from every other blockchain in this space. In the last segment, we talked about the perplexing inclusion of projects like Solana and Ethereum on the Wyoming stable token list. But there's an even more interesting question to ask. Why was a project like Algorand left out? Algorand is incredibly fast, it's also carbon negative, and it has a strong reputation for reliability. It seems to tick all the boxes. So why was Hedera chosen as the only new candidate? The answer lies in one key feature that only Hedera has: a fixed transaction cost. When the Wyoming Commission was looking for a network for their stablecoin, they weren't just looking for low fees, they were looking for predictable fees. Hedera's fees are not just low, they are fixed. A simple transaction will always cost you a tiny fraction of a penny, no matter what the price of the HBAR token is. The cost is decoupled from the token's value. This is a massive, game-changing advantage. Think about what a stablecoin is for: real-world payments. Imagine a business that needs to process 1 million transactions a day. How can they budget for that if the cost of each transaction can swing wildly? How can a government use a stablecoin to send out tax refunds or disaster relief if they can't accurately predict the total cost? It's simply not feasible. While Algorand's fees are generally low, they are not fixed. They can and do fluctuate. And for a government body that needs to plan and budget for billions of dollars in payments, that unpredictability is a deal breaker. This is the hidden genius of Hedera's design. The core of its technology isn't just about being fast, it's about being stable, predictable, and reliable at every single layer. The predictable fees ensure that enterprises can build on the network with complete confidence, knowing that their costs will never spiral out of control. This is the difference between a project that's built for speculation and a project that's built for the real world. My grandpa Leo would have understood this immediately. He would have looked at the fixed costs and said, now that's a sound investment. You know exactly what you're getting. It's about trust, and Hedera's fixed fee structure builds trust in a way that no other blockchain can. This single feature is why Hedera is uniquely positioned to capture the enterprise market. And it's why a state government, after a thorough evaluation, chose to add it to its roster of stable coin compatible networks. The fixed fee model is not just a nice to have, it's a must have for large scale real world payments. But the good news for HBAR doesn't stop there. The ecosystem is growing and maturing in incredible ways. From its community to its technology, the next segment will reveal a major development that shows just how serious the Hedera community is about building for the future. The network is growing, and now a familiar face is joining one of the biggest decentralized exchanges in the ecosystem. What does this mean for the future of HBAR? It's a sign of a maturing ecosystem that is preparing for a massive influx of users. Okay, let's switch gears for a second and talk about something that might seem small, but is actually a huge sign of a maturing ecosystem. I'm talking about HBAR, a well-known community figure, and his new role at SaucerSwap. He's now the ecosystem correspondent and media host for the platform. Now, on the surface, this might just look like a simple job change, but when you look deeper, you see that it's a huge catalyst for the Hedera ecosystem. Think about it. A major decentralized exchange like SaucerSwap is choosing to bring a respected voice from the community onto their core team. This shows a commitment to communication and growth. It's not just about building the technology anymore, it's about building the community and the user base. SaucerSwap is signaling to the world that it is serious about bringing new users into the Hedera ecosystem and providing them with a familiar and trusted face to guide them. This is a monumental step for the ecosystem. It shows that the decentralized applications are no longer just speculative plays, they are real growing businesses that are attracting top talent and building a bridge between the core technology and the end user. This kind of professionalization is a necessary step for any crypto project that wants to go from a niche hobby to a mainstream financial tool. My grandpa Leo would have loved this. He would have seen it as a sign of trust and professionalism. He wouldn't have understood the technical details of a decentralized exchange, but he would have understood the value of a trusted person acting as a guide. He would have seen it as a sign that this Hedera thing isn't just some crazy idea. It's a real business with real people, real goals, and a real commitment to its community. And this is exactly what we need to see to know that HBAR is on the right track. But the growth of the ecosystem isn't just about people, it's about technology. It's about building solutions that make using HBAR so seamless and easy that a complete newcomer can do it without any problems. And a new wallet has just been announced that is so advanced, it literally solves the two biggest problems in all of crypto. Get ready, because the next segment will change the way you think about wallets forever. Imagine a wallet that has no seed phrase and no transaction fees. A wallet so easy to use that even your grandma could handle it. It's not a dream. It's the new Zero wallet on Hedera. All right, let's talk about the biggest hurdle to mass adoption in all of crypto: wallets. For a newcomer, the process of setting up a wallet and dealing with a 24-word seed phrase is terrifying. The fear of losing that phrase and losing all of your money is a constant source of anxiety. And then once you're in, you have to deal with transaction fees or gas, which can be confusing and unpredictable. These are the two biggest barriers holding crypto back from becoming a mainstream payment tool. But a new wallet for the Hedera ecosystem called the Zero Wallet is about to change everything. This is a ZKP privacy first, seedless, and gasless smart wallet. Let me break down what this means. 1. Zero seed phrases. Imagine onboarding with just one click. No complex phrases to write down and hide in a safe. This removes the #1 fear for new users. It's a massive step forward for user experience. 2. Gasless transactions. The transactions are funded by the wallet itself, so the user never has to worry about gas. This removes the second biggest barrier to entry and makes using HBAR completely frictionless. 3. ZK-powered identity. The wallet uses zero-acknowledged proofs, ZKP, which are a game changer for privacy. It allows you to prove that you own something or that you are a certain person without revealing any sensitive information. This is a crucial feature for enterprises and regulated businesses that need to maintain privacy and security. This isn't just a new wallet, it's a new paradigm. It's a new way of thinking about how people will interact with crypto. It shows that Hedera is not just about its core technology, it's about its entire ecosystem. It's about building solutions that solve real-world problems for real-world people. It's about making the technology so easy to use that even my grandpa Leo could manage it. This is what mass adoption looks like. It's not about flashy marketing campaigns. It's about building infrastructure that is so seamless, so easy to use, and so reliable that people don't even know they're using crypto. They just know that they are using a fast, cheap, and secure payment system. The Zero Wallet is a perfect example of how Hedera is leading the charge on this front. But this new development is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. The next segment will tie this all back to our previous discussions about global finance and show you how all of these pieces are connected. The Wyoming news is huge, but it's not happening in a vacuum. What if I told you that the work being done with a state stablecoin is a crucial first step toward global scale tokenization with partners like the DTCC and RCAX? All right, let's take a moment to appreciate the big picture. We've been talking about the Wyoming stablecoin, but that news doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's part of a much larger narrative that we've been tracking for months. Remember our previous conversations about the UK and their partnerships with RCAX for real-world asset tokenization? Remember how we talked about the DTCC, the organization that moves quadrillions of dollars, and their plan to use the Hedera network? Well, the Wyoming news is the perfect bridge between these two stories. Think about it like this. The Wyoming stablecoin is a proof of concept for government-backed digital payments. It shows that a state can successfully create and manage a stable token on a public network. This is a crucial first step. Now, imagine a future where the tokenization of real-world assets on a network like Hedera is a massive multi-trillion-dollar market. How will those assets be valued and traded with stablecoins? And what better stablecoin to use than one that is officially sanctioned and backed by a government body? The Wyoming stablecoin is a dress rehearsal for a much bigger show. It's a small-scale, real-world example of how a government can safely and efficiently use a public network for financial services. This provides a blueprint and a level of trust that other governments and financial institutions will need before they commit to using Hedera for their own tokenization projects. It's a direct connection between the work being done in the US with the state government and the work being done with global financial institutions like the DTC. The fact that Hedera was selected for this project sends a powerful message to the entire world. This network is ready for prime time. It's ready for government level use cases. It's ready for institutional adoption. This is why you should feel confident in your HBAR investment. Every single piece of news, from a new wallet to a government partnership, is a brick in the foundation of a new financial system. All the pieces are fitting together perfectly, proving that Hedera is not just a speculative token, it's the future of finance. But there's one last piece of the puzzle we need to talk about, the biggest controversy of them all. We need to go back to that list of blockchains selected by Wyoming and ask a very uncomfortable question. Why were Solana and Ethereum included? We've talked about their flaws, so what is the real reason they made the cut? The answer is not what you think, and it's something that will spark a massive debate in the comments. The inclusion of Solana and Ethereum on the Wyoming list is a paradox. Is it a sign of their strength or a sign of something else entirely? We're going to get to the bottom of it. This is the segment where we pull back the curtain and look at the biggest head scratcher from the Wyoming stablecoin news. If the criteria were speed, reliability, and predictable costs, why in the world were Solana and Ethereum included on the list? We've already established that Solana has a history of unreliability and that Ethereum's gas fees are the opposite of predictable. So, what's the real story here? Here's my theory, and I want you all to weigh in on this in the comments. I believe that their inclusion isn't a sign of their technical superiority, it's a sign of their existing adoption and network effects. The commission needed to have options that were already well known and widely used. It's a matter of public perception and brand recognition. They likely figured that even with their flaws, these networks have a massive user base that makes them a necessary inclusion. It's a reluctant choice, a compromise between what's best from a technical standpoint and what's most convenient from a user adoption standpoint. But here's the key difference. They didn't add Solana or Ethereum to the list, they were already there. They chose to add only one more network, and that was Hedera. This tells us that while they may have been a reluctant partner to begin with, the Wyoming Commission saw something so fundamentally superior in Hedera that it couldn't be ignored. They chose to expand their options because Hedera brings something to the table that the others don't. This is a powerful learning outcome. It shows that even the most well-known blockchains have flaws that are deal breakers for large-scale, enterprise-level use cases. And it shows that a quiet, fundamentally sound network like Hedera is being recognized for its technical superiority. It's not about the hype, it's about the underlying technology. And this is exactly why your HBAR price prediction is probably too low. You're not factoring in the level of institutional and government adoption that is quietly unfolding behind the scenes. My grandpa Leo would have been a skeptic. He would have looked at this list and asked the same questions we are. He would have smelled something fishy. But then, when I showed him the part about Hedera's fixed fees and its governance model, he would have understood. He would have seen that it's the one project on that list that is truly building for the future in a way that is honest, predictable, and trustworthy. This news is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. The final segment will tie this all together and show you why every single thing we've talked about today points to a single conclusion. HBAR is about to become an indispensable part of the global economy. This is the moment where we tie it all together and prove that your HBAR price prediction is not only too low, but that you're probably not even in the right ballpark. This isn't about the next 10x gain. This is about a fundamental shift in the very purpose of this coin. We started with the Wyoming stablecoin news, a real-world, government-backed project. We saw that out of the long list of blockchains, Hedera was the only one that was added to the list for its fundamental superiority. We then learned that its fixed fee model gives it a unique and undeniable advantage for large-scale payments. We saw that the community is growing and professionalizing, with figures like HBAR joining the core team. We discovered the groundbreaking Zero Wallet, a seedless and gasless solution that removes the biggest barriers to mass adoption. We tied it all back to our previous discussions about global partners like Arcax and the DTCC, proving that Hedera's adoption is happening on a global scale. We even dove into the controversy around Solana and Ethereum and saw that their inclusion on a list with Hedera is more of a sign of their flaws than their strength. The sum of all these parts points to a single conclusion. HBAR is not just a speculative asset, it is a vital piece of a new financial infrastructure that is being built right now by governments, enterprises, and innovators. The price of the coin is a direct reflection of this utility. As more businesses and governments choose Hedera for its speed, reliability, and predictable costs, the demand for HBAR will grow exponentially. My grandpa Leo might have been skeptical of a digital currency, but he understood the value of a solid, trustworthy foundation. He would have looked at all of this news and seen it for what it is, a game changer. He would have seen that HBAR is the digital equivalent of a high-speed highway, and every single company and government we talked about is building a car to drive on it. Your HBAR price prediction is too low because it doesn't account for the fact that this is not just an investment in a token, it's an investment in a network that is becoming a global standard for payments and asset tokenization. This is the final promise. You are in at the ground floor of a new financial era, and your HBAR is about to become a lot more valuable than you could ever imagine. Now, I want to hear from you. After hearing all this, has your price prediction for HBAR changed? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked this video, do me a favor and smash that like button and subscribe for more free content. I'm telling you, you're not going to want to miss this next video. We're going to dive into the exact price points that HBAR needs to break through to make sure that we're all prepared for the coming alt season. You're not going to want to miss it. It's been real. Peace out.